Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Duncan, Sense Your Goat, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on!
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, good morning.
Go, baby!
Very enthusiastic. Good to have it. So we've been discussing some of the rebuttals that we've had. So over the weekend, I released a video from the politics server, a trimmed out section of it, where I combined the two guys that were chatting at once, of course, one white knight, one that I was actually debating with, about the apologies being made for the Earth being measured flat, and the justification thereafter being, oh, well, it's because it's so big. Now, the apologetics is something that I'm trying to educate the flat earthers in ignoring and focusing on how Earth is actually measured. And for the last 7 months, I've been saying there's going to come a time in this year where our opponents will be telling us this. They're not going to like it, but they have been saying it for 10 years. We've just been focused on the apologetics and our predisposition to argue with their, well, that's because it's a big ball. Flat earthers here, big ball, and then argue with that rather than Earth measured flat. But only because it's a big ball. That bit can be ignored. Their apologetics doesn't have any grounding. It doesn't have any validity. It doesn't have any justification beyond their belief. But what did they actually do? And that's contained within the video I've just released over the weekend called Globers losing their mind because they measure Earth flat or something to that effect. It's got a picture of a woman screaming, "Big balls are flat," in the thumbnail. So check it out. Lots of people have. It's been a very popular video. It's had lots and lots of comments, which is always good. And one of them was Where's Wally? Saying, yeah, of course we can measure Earth flat, because it's a big ball. But that don't mean the flat bit in the UK matches with the flat bit in America. That's what he's saying. Yeah, share your pain. Yeah, we know Earth's measured flat, and the apologies after the fact can be ignored. Because we'll go with the measurements rather than your apologetics for why it wouldn't be ball-shaped. I mean, if you've got some ball-shaped measurements, we'll have a look at them. Oh, we did and debunked them in 2020. What are we left with? Well, just flat Earth measurements. And that's about all, because it's required to be measured that way. I mean, you can apologise for how ball-shaped it isn't afterwards, but I'll just take as read that it's measured flat and point that out to you and hope that other flat earthers will follow suit. Which is to say, you will point out to your opponent when they tell you it's measured flat, because they will, because it is. You'll just hold them to that. Okay, well, I'm happy to accept what you've said. Earth measured flat. No, I also said because it's a really big ball. Yeah, and you're entitled to your belief. I'll just go with the measurements of a flat Earth. Well, the other bit over the other side of the ball that I assume isn't definitely matching this flat bit that we're measuring that's locally flat. So we measure it locally flat. Okay. Yeah, there's no ball measurements anymore. The ones that were claimed to be measurements were calculations and extrapolations from flat Earth surface level. Earth's flat. This is how we dealt with it. Forever. Everyone. And it's never changed either.
But what?
Good.
But why ain't they getting the fact that there are no flat surfaces on a sphere? They pulled that with QE last night, too, on the video. Earth too biggie. Unless you're a giant, 10,000 feet, like the other moron said.
I don't care what they say. So your argument is, we're going to measure this item flat. But it isn't, because I'm not a giant. Yeah, we just measured it flat, didn't we? Yeah, but I'm not a giant. That's lovely. Ruffles hair. On you go. Yeah, but it's a really, really big ball. That's why we measure it flat. Oh, bless. You think you're on a really big ball, do you? Yeah, but we do measure it flat. So that's the bit that's important. You can keep your belief about it being a really big ball as a justification after measuring it flat. But we measure it flat. And everybody better start getting used to this fact. Because it hasn't changed. I was just about to say before Neil jumped in. Nothing's changed. We've been measuring it flat forever. And the ball reification comes from those measurements. So they can back engineer the ball reification into an actual working, functional measurement of the ground with respect to the sky. Flat. But nothing's changed. It always was. That's why our opponents have started saying it. So only when you spot it, and it takes, no offense to anybody else on the panel, but someone like me to come along and say, hey, look, they've always been telling you it's flat. Because it is. Now, why am I labouring this rather than even getting into any housekeeping? Because in my humble opinion, this is the key. If your opponent already agrees with you that Earth is flat and that's how they'll be measuring it, but only because it's a really big ball, agree. You can keep your it's only a big ball, I'm not a giant argument, because it's not substantiatable in any way, shape or form, but the measurements are measurements, and that bit's flat. So people will start waking up to this fact if we run with this argument. We debunked the measurements of a ball in 2020. That was absolutely critical. We couldn't be on this step now if it wasn't for the black swan. But here we are. There's no globe, earth curve, whatever you want to call it, measurements. There's no R value measurement, spherical either. Only flat. Thank you for that, Humble. I would suggest you just keep your mic wide open, Humble. Thanks for that. That's right at my crescendo, by the way, right at the end of my point. Humble's complete audio chaos comes through the top of it. Nothing's changed. Earth's always been measured flat for everyone. Yeah, start getting your proponents to take us through the measurements of Earth, the actual ones. They can't claim spherical measurements. Their derivation of R came from flat Earth measurements in the first instance. Earth's measured flat. For them, and us, and everyone, always, and always has been.
Isn't life great?
It is if you're a flat earther and you've relinquished that pain a long time ago. Go ahead.
To answer your question, it's because their belief in a sphere is more important to them than logical consistency.
It's not logically consistent to say I measure Earth flat, but it isn't because I'm not a giant.
Because you're not a giant, that proves Earth is a globe.
But they've just measured it flat. So it's not proving that they're a globe, it's proving they're delusional and suggests that an apology for why it's not measured globe-shaped, factually measured flat by their own admission, is because they're not a really big giant on a really little ball. Therefore, it's going to be measured flat. And it's just measured flat. A complete and utter impossibility if you're on a ball. Never will a ball be measured flat. Ever. But we will measure Earth flat because it's measured flat. Like I've been saying for 7 months that we've been saying it. Now, massive props to people like QE and Bible Literalist. I listened to her most recent video. It might have not been the most recent, but a recent video from her. And it needs retitling because it's an excellent summary of the current circumstances for flat earthers. With celestial navigation and the debunking with the black swan. All of that's in her video. Go and check it out. Bible U is the name of the channel. Really good video, by the way, Paula, if you're listening. Very good summaries that people on our own side are starting to get to grips with. I'm not suggesting that QE should be someone or Paula should be someone that needs to be, quote, getting to grips with this. But I'm saying that I'm hearing it here, there, and everywhere. And it's concise. People have got it quickly and then have gone, I can use this concise summary to undo all aspects of my opponent's argument. I mean, if there's a cherry on top, it will be them telling me it's measured flat afterwards. It's epic. It's only taken 7 months, but it's starting to happen. I'm really pleased. 8 months, we're in August now, aren't we?
And Nathan, it's not just measurements, it's observations as well. They'll say, oh, yes, we observe it because we observe flat because it's so biggy. And then they'll also say that, oh, yes, we navigate it flat because it's easier to navigate with flat maps instead of pulling globes out of your pockets. So they'll agree with observations, measurements, and navigation.
Yeah. And over time, like I say, that's why I think this is so important. If you've already got an acceptance through understanding of how Earth is measured flat, and then your belief leads you to justify why it wouldn't be, you're halfway there. you've already accepted what the world actually is and how it functions, how it operates, how it's measured. And then you will appreciate that after that, you're making apologetics for your belief. And that's all it is. So if, as it is the case, all Earth measurements will always reference what it actually is, makes sense, and that's flat, then there's a very little barrier between those who are currently under the misapprehension and belief that they're on a ball to actually step into the reality of the world we deal with. Because in terms of what we do, it's never changed. How we survey, how we navigate, how we fly, none of it's ever changed. It's always been flat. The world didn't roll itself up into a ball when whoever decided that they're going to impose heliocentrism on the world decided. The world still had to function as it always has functioned, and that is flat. So I don't think there's a big step away from this belief structure. Maybe that's why there's such a massive pushback against us, because it is so frail, it's so tentatively held together. It's a precarious system that it just takes one little blink of an eye and you're going, oh yeah, of course, I always knew it was flat, so it's measured. Because it is. Yeah, if you're out there and you're listening and you've gone, oh yeah, actually I did take a foray into this argument, and yeah, it left my opponent stuttering and stammering and not really knowing what to do with themselves when they told me it was measured flat, then maybe let us know. Be good to hear it, and hopefully encourage others when they say, yeah, it is a very easy argument once you get your head around it. Earth's measured flat. And that's how it's mapped, navigated, flown on, built on. Easy. You all agree? It's an easy argument to wrap your head around. It's only been 7 months. 4 years for the Black Swan for some people. Modus tollens isn't that simple when you look at it. It's a logical consistency. Earth being measured flat, that's not a logical consistency. That's just a statement of fact. Very easy to understand.
Well, because they'll do it for you. So yeah, you haven't even got to do anything.
Yeah. If you're skilled enough, you can get your opponent to commit seppuku. Fall on their own sword and say, yeah, it's measured flat, but it's only because it's really big. Yeah, check that out.
Tangent, but that short you made where the guy, where you edited perfectly his stuttering ute to, that is hilarious, by the way.
Well, I use that as the intro. So there's 3 guys in total that were from the politics server in quick succession. One guy that was just rude and swore at us a lot. And I edited that today as well. I've just released that to members. But when I was listening to it back, I'm like, it sounded as I was listening to it back, like I'm instigating this guy because I'm swearing at him. And then it suddenly dawned on me, no, I've been there 2 hours and the guy been interjecting, white knighting, trolling and swearing the entire time. So when it got to his actual bit where he gets the mic handed to him by a moderator of the server, it's like, okay, well, you've been messing me around while I've been trying to have decent conversation with various other people. So that's why I was a bit sweary. But I thought, well, sod it. It's my edit. I'll edit out all of my swears until the point that he gets annoyed and the tone of the swearing is very, very different. There's a distinct point where he starts effing and blinding at me in frustration because he's getting told off because he hasn't been listening. So his interjections came in while I'm discussing with another guy. Oh, moreover, he's apologising for how flat Earth can be measured. And this guy's the same guy that I edited today is poking his head into this discussion going, how else would you measure it? Yeah, flat. Yeah, you're right, mate. How else would you? But in their mind, oh, it's okay to measure it flat because I've apologised for how ball-shaped it isn't afterwards. So that's all cool, right? We're all good. Well, hopefully flat earthers prick your ears up. No, it isn't. No, we'll just accept that it's measured. Measured flat, you say. I'm good with that. Have you got any measurements that aren't flat? That like ball-shaped, that back your belief that you've spewed afterwards that had no justification for it? Because if not, all we've got is the flat earth measurement bit, isn't it? You telling me it's just a really big ball and that's why it's measured flat. Anyway, that and him and another guy that was admittedly from a couple of weeks ago who was talking about surveying, all 4 of them got chopped together in a minute and a half intro, and that became a shorts video and a TikTok video, and also the extended version was the intro to that 10-minute video. And the outro, after the music, has got that same guy. You can utilize the flat Earth. It's fine. It's flat enough. Flat enough on a curve? I'm thinking no. But they want it to be flat enough, end quote, to get a measurement that requires it to be flat. It's like, well, it requires Earth to be flat, I'm afraid. So that's the end of your argument. It doesn't matter about your apologies. But all them got edited together. Check it out. You'll notice the thumbnail. It's got some bawling woman saying all balls are flat or something like that.
You know, Nathan, when that video opens up, it is a flat earther you're talking to.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, he was trying to play like devil's advocate. Well, he said he was.
Which one?
The one where the guy's talking about building on it. Yeah, well, in certain amounts, got to be flat.
Yeah. In either event, Neil, it is the rhetoric of their absolute requirement to measure Earth flat. Now, the fact that someone's come up that you're saying is a glurf posing as a flat earther or the other way around is kind of irrelevant. The point is the same. We do measure Earth flat, and the apologetics from the ball side is to say it's just flat enough to utilise that in that small local area. You know, I've got Wally in the comments saying the exact same thing. Yeah, the UK is flat, but that flat ground isn't the same flat ground as the States. But it's okay to measure it locally flat, says Where's Wally. They already know it. Like I say, this is... If your actual motivation is to be a flat earth evangelist, you should be all over this. Because this is what this does. Me, I'm not a flat earth evangelist. Yes, I run a flat earth debate show. Yes, I talk about it all day long. But that doesn't make me a flat earth evangelist, believe it or not. Other people are far more keen to convert others into this belief. Me, yeah, believe what you like. I'll tell you how it is until you get stroppy with me, and then I'll tell you off, because it's very entertaining to an audience, and they get to learn how flat earth is. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm just laughing, but circles of equal altitude kill it. Elevation kills it. Elevation to what? They're done.
Any elevation requires a flat earth.
Nautical miles is...
Sorry, Endless, go ahead.
I mean, 10,000 nautical miles is, I guess, locally flat if you compare it to the infinite equatorial plane. 10,000 miles does sound kind of local.
It kind of sounds local to exactly. You get to the edge of the equatorial plane and you might be plotting out stars that are considered southern hemispherical in their globe model. But you're plotting it out on the extended celestial plane, all flat. So you've got half of them in the northern territories flat with respect to the stuff in the southern. Like, none of it makes sense on a ball, because it can't make sense. When it's measured flat, it's measured flat. When it's functionally flat, it's functionally flat. How do we deal with it? Flat. It makes no odds how they extend out planes that are inside hell. Like, that plane inside hell is where you're actually measuring, and you're not inside hell. You're on a flat plane. Just a very, very, very big flat plane. Shout out to Daniel Samaniego, who says, latitude is very easy to understand. All flat earthers need to utilize it.
That's funny.
Very good. Elevation angle measurement to Polaris. Yeah, it is. It is simple, Daniel. I completely agree. And that got such a good laugh. I'm going to give it a heart. That was really funny. Utilize it flat. That don't mean it ain't. Yeah, it
Can you
doesn't.
just imagine the embarrassment that guy was like? If that was me, I would die of embarrassment.
No, he'll be on next week saying the same thing to somebody else. They don't care.
Yeah, because they've got the consensus behind them. For somehow, it gives them a humility shield. I don't know how it works, but you can say the dumbest thing possible, and there's seemingly no consequences because the consensus won't ridicule them for it. We make a spelling error, and suddenly, well, look at these idiots! Told you, they're a bunch of conspirators. It's like, I made a spelling error. What are you talking about?
Well, that's a pretty good assessment. Humility shield. You're right about that.
I think it's cognitive dissonance. So when they hear their argument defeated, or we suspect that because their mic's been closed long enough for the words to actually come out unimpeded, that means they've heard it. No. It means the audience has got to hear it unimpeded once in 10 attempts. But does that mean that they've concentrated enough to actually focus on the problem with their argument that's come across to them on the 10th attempt? That they happen to have either been server moderated by someone that isn't me. Just in case someone wants to say, it's only because you mute people. What, that the 10th attempt at obfuscating their losing battle, defeat, was obfuscated? It was me muting them. No. Now that I'm in nice neutral, actual neutral territories where I don't control the server, by about the 6th attempt, the server moderators have had enough too, as you would expect, and they mute the person. Now, initially when I was in there, they'd be like, you're muting, and I'm like, this isn't my server. Yeah, you're chanting through it, so you don't have to hear it. And when you do hear it, you'll rinse and repeat. This was my point, Neil. Humility shield? No, cognitive dissonance. Gets to the end of the argument, they've been defeated, they don't acknowledge it, and then they repeat the argument again. Like, this hasn't been undone with coherency and logic. I'll just say it again. Ideally, ask you something. Thanks again for the super chat, Daniel. Anyway, we're almost half. We're like 22 minutes into the show already. It's like we've only just started, and there's 90 people watching. Seems like we only started 10 seconds ago. Great. Well, I've actually got something to cover today. So over the weekend, I don't know why. I think they've just figured out the addictive plot that TikTok figured out a few years back. But YouTube have got shorts videos, which while I have been publishing for many years, I've never really necessarily got hooked on. Whereas I am now. I love it. Flicking through shorts videos, deciding it's crap within 2 to 3 seconds, flicking it on, and then potentially spending 25 to 45 seconds actually watching a video that someone's produced and put a lot of effort into making it short. So anyway, one of those videos was from a videographer that I have seen my daughter, eldest daughter, watching. She's a bit of an artist. This guy's called DonnoDraws, and we have actually covered him once before, actually, so you might be familiar with him if you've seen the show. I will, as always, ask you to let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Now, although he does mention flat earthers, by the time I'd clipped this link and put it into one of my own Skype chats to remind me to cover it on Monday, today, I'd already decided that I was covering it before he mentions flat earthers in this, which I didn't know he was going to do. So I listened to the first 10 seconds, say, and went, oh, I'm definitely going to cover this on Monday. Clipped the link, put it in one of the Skype chats, came back and went, well, I better listen to what he's actually got to say about flying hippos, because that's the name of the video. And then, literally, as soon as I clicked it again, he was talking about flat earthers. I was like, oh, what a weird coincidence. And then he bobbles off track on the actual video topic. But I'm going to preface it, because it is very, very short to get my point across. So I'm going to sort of labour the point as a summary in advance of the video. Then I'll play it, and then I'll reiterate it again after the fact. What he's talking about in this is what I consider to be our main battle since Flat Earth debate started. What is that battle? Well, it's a battle with pseudo-science. It's a battle with pretender clowns utilising the empirical nature of the scientific method and suggesting that they've got that validity. Now, the influence of that en masse is realised in the words of this videographer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and then hopefully I'll pause at the right moment and we can discuss. And the point will be clear once I've played it.
Hippos can fly according to science? Listen, I'm not any sort of super genius, and I usually agree with science. Science says I take a certain drug and my cough goes away? Sure. Science says if I drink bleach I die? Thanks a bunch. Science says the earth is round? Sounds good to me. Apparently not some people, but I'm fine. But now...
Okay, hopefully that few seconds is enough for people to get the general gist of why I'd want to cover this video. So he opens up by saying, if science says X, then great. If science says Y, then great. If science says don't do Z, then wonderful. And if science says Earth's a sphere, that's terrific too. Unlike flat earthers who obviously don't like listening to science. Okay. Now, if it wasn't absolutely obvious to regular members of the show and regular audience, can anybody tell me what's wrong with that?
It's a category error. It's not science. Measurement is not science.
Right. So, in his mind, if science says take this pill, you take the pill. if science says jump off the cliff, you jump off the cliff. It's good for you if science says so. Science is a method of establishing the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Now, let's just pick one of them. Let's pick the shape of the Earth. Is the shape of the Earth, not the way we deal with Earth as a plane, that's an aspect, is the shape of the Earth, by reification, a cause and effect relationship?
No.
So, as rightly pointed out, it's a category error. But why is this guy in the misapprehended view that science saying anything would be something that he needs to concern himself with? Well, it's because lots of charlatans have taken the empiricism aspect of science and imposed it on their words by using things like saying experiment, saying theory, saying science, saying experiments when you've got group studies, saying experiments when you've got consensus, saying theory when you've got an idea about something as opposed to the outcome of a scientific experiment. They use these words to imply that things that they say have been proven, because that's what science does with cause and effect relationships. Proves the outcome. Either your independent variable supposition of cause causes the phenomena you're studying, or it does not. But one of those two statements can only be the outcome. Therefore, you will validate one or other of them. Ergo, science is empirical. But if you just want to say, Earth's a banana, why? Science says Earth's a banana. Oh, okay. Well, if science says Earth's a banana, it's been proven. No. It doesn't matter how big my white coat is, how thick my name badge is, and how gaudy, awful my spectacles are. That's not science. Science is a method. Now, if you've been through the method, you'll have an empirical outcome for the question you asked after observing something occur in nature. None of what he's covering is science. But that's as a result of the Western world indoctrination and use of... Use is probably a too soft a word. The rape of the word science and the methodology and the empiricism that it actually offers. This is the outcome of that rape. I don't think we need much more from it, but you can have a listen just in case there is anything.
This hippos flying is where I draw the line. Apparently, researchers claim that this video is proof that hippos fly. I feel like...
Okay, yeah, I do actually remember what he's covering here. So, the video of the hippo, when running, having all 4 feet off the ground, is considered or defined as flight. And he's saying, I'm not having that. It's like you'll present a cartoon of a ball that you could never possibly see because the claim to be pictures, not that your cartoon was, come from a second law of thermodynamics violation. So it couldn't ever be the case that you would have any pictures of what you believe when it comes to a ball because science says. But when science, not that that's actually what's going on here, shows you a hippo with all 4 feet off the ground, ipso facto, even if it's only for a fraction of a second, they want to call that flight, but you won't accept that. You might think, why are you defending this, Nathan? Why would you defend the fact that he's going against the idea that hippos fly because they have all 4 feet off the ground? It's like, well, you're talking about semantics, how things can be defined. This has an air of ambiguity in it. And you've got a visual demonstration to argue about. Unlike Earth as a sphere from a sky vacuum, represented by cartoon by this guy. Like, that's very different standards. TVH says, let's just put it up on screen. Hello, Nathan. I enjoy every moment you spoke to Matthew Learns recently. You cracked me up laughing again. You deserve my support. Thank you, Mr. Legend. Wow, very complimentary. Thank you very much indeed, TVH. I actually got it in the neck for my treatment of Matthew because I was calling for his head in employment terms, and I was told that that's deeply unreasonable. And I actually agreed. I'm like, this shouldn't come into the subject. If I'm going to argue that people shouldn't be going after Brian Mullen's job, then it's unreasonable for me to do the same, even though, like the people who would go after Brian Mullen, I feel justified when this teacher is teaching and caught out multiple times as an overt liar, a deceiver. In my mind, personally, I feel justified in suggesting that man shouldn't be teaching anybody. But that's not the subject we cover. Therefore, I personally have overstepped the bounds of flat Earth debate and what we stand for here. And I had to accept that when someone pointed it out to me. So as much as I'm getting praise for you, I'm going to put a caveat in there, and thank you very much for the super chat. Right, I think we're done with DonnoDraws. Like I say, it wasn't going to be a particularly massive amount of coverage today, but I will invite you all to let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And I am going to put the chat up so you can see exactly what I'm doing. The idea being that if DonnoDraws was to respond, he would put a link to our video and help us along in the YouTube algorithm, where we receive absolutely no algorithmic love from YouTube whatsoever. Quite the contrary. Our opponents are stuffed up to the top of the lists, and we are never to be found. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'd put a response and a link to my video if he was to do one. But leave a nice comment, don't swear.
You know, I just think that the only reason why he said something like that is because it's an easy dunk for a quick laugh. You know, I mean.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm not, in a way, I'm not indicting him. I'm saying he's the product of the indoctrination and the lies that we all have to suffer when it comes to bullshitting about science. People saying that you can offer up a scientific validity for a non-cause and effect based claim is instantly, as I think it was you that said, a category error. But because we're all taught what science is in high school, we all get a really good understanding of how and why it proves things. But because it's so a stage in our lives that we're so young, you quickly forget the majority of what you're taught and just remember that it's proving things. So when someone else comes along and uses some of the vernacular of science, your mind remembers that you're proving things when that word's used. So this is the end result of it. You know, it's not like I'm blaming him and saying, you're the reason that the kids today think science is assertion of shape. No. Now, we could berate him for his stupidity in that regard, but why bother? It's like, he's a good example of, you know, how deluded people are when it comes to the cause and effect reasoning, the methodology that offers the empiricism that's being hijacked to say Earth has shape. That's not a cause and effect statement and isn't something that could even be put through the scientific method. But you're claiming that science has told it you and you're just happy to accept it based on your belief? That's useful to me. It really does demonstrate where we are in society. Any other
That's
news?
sad.
So,
No, it's just they need to learn the scientific method, you know? I'm just, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I've been banging that drum for as long as QE's been here. And it is I said it was the most important thing that we do. Because so long as people are still under the misapprehension that anything that's, quote, science says is to be taken literally and accepted carte blanche without any assessment, then the Western world's going to be very easy to manipulate forever. Keep teaching them that science does prove, show them how it proves so they know it proves, maybe show them something pop in a test tube so it really imprints on their brain. Send them out into the world 10 years later when they're being told, here comes the science part in a Timotei shampoo advert. They'll go, oh, that's definitely give me the silkiest of hair. Science. No, that's not science, that's marketing. But because they said the word, it's been proven. Definitely not. But like I say, that's our raison d'etre, that's our reason to be here. To let people know how they've been deceived. It's a massive part of how people got onto a ball. When we arrived, what did they tell us? Quote, the whole body of science proves we are on a ball. End quote. Fast forward 10 years. There isn't any science. They were in a category error the whole time. And that is
And of
unilaterally
course,
applicable
science
to
doesn't
lots of
prove
things.
things.
Sorry, Duncan, go ahead.
Sorry, and of course, science doesn't prove things either now.
That's an extremist swing. So people who are led to believe science is proving everything and have been taught that it does, and then they've been lied to about what's applied to those words, when they find out that what was being applied to those words wasn't empirically validated, they don't necessarily learn why it wasn't science when they claimed it was. They just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, science has lied to us then. No, you're equally guilty of a reification. Science has no lips. It can't tell you the Earth's a ball, and it can't lie to you. But if you want to go the other end of the scale and say, science is now the enemy, what, this method is are you nuts? But that's what extremists do. They swing too far the other way. That's us. That's flat earthers doing that. Not us per se, us specifically, but flat earthers do that. They swing too far the other way when they find out that science has quote unquote lied to them. Science can't lie. It has no lips. The people who lied to you didn't follow the method. That's got sod all to do with science. They claimed it and didn't have it. That's what actually happened. So blame the man, the one who claimed he had science when he didn't. Don't infer that there's a reification from your side of this discussion where science has now lied to you and you can relabel it as scientism. No, they never had it to begin with. If they claim that they did, it was automatically pseudo-science if they hadn't put it through the method. So just define things correctly. Most things that are claimed to be science can't even be put through the method. It's just a buzzword that means I've proven this honest.
It's the ballers that have done that. When they first come out and said, must deny all of science and all of physics to believe in a flat earth. 3 years later and on, science doesn't prove things.
Yep.
Not saying that flat earthers aren't guilty of it, but it's the ballers. It's the same ones that said, well, science proved it. That's the chicanery, knuckleheadery.
Oh God, you're going to keep using that word that's in my book, aren't you? You've got it you've got it in your vocab now, and that's it.
Yeah.
You're going to read this word when my book comes out and go, isn't that QE? No, it isn't. The rest of the quotes that are around stuff that I don't specifically cite as being QE, yes, those are QE bits. He gets no credit, but there are quotes around them. Chicanery ain't one of them.
It's a great word.
Thanks. It was actually my publisher that put that word in. Shouldn't take any credit. But like anything, if you're out there, Chuck, yeah, I just steal credit. That's how it goes.
He just used it because it started with CH.
I was in his presence when he wrote it down, amending things that I had actually said. So basically that makes it mine. He was amending my stuff when he came up with that word. Now it's mine. You can't have it. Yeah. I stole it first. Anyway, yeah, so this is it. This is chicanery in terms of the globe earth rhetoric, saying we've got science and then decrying it outright and wholesale after we point out that they haven't. And I remember when that crumbled. It was about 7 years ago, and they started throwing people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox under the bus every time they said something that we could demonstrably show was pseudoscience. Well, we don't stand with him. You don't stand with the high priest, Tyson? No, he doesn't stand. He doesn't represent me. He's your high priest. Yeah, but I want to piss in the face of this globe earth rhetoric because you've got me over a barrel as a flat earther. So as an anti-flat earther, I reserve the right to relinquish all globe earth claims just to get the win here. And if that means throwing Tyson under the bus in the sake of science, then I'll do it. No worries. They're all little Judases. Is it Judas? I always get that wrong. They're more than happy to betray their leaders.
Plural of Judas is Judasai.
Judasai? Yeah, but is it Judas,
I don't know.
biblically speaking, that would be betraying their priest? Yes, Nathan, your biblical knowledge is exemplary. Oh, well, thank you. It's good to hear. So is there anything else exciting over the weekend? There's QE shows to watch if you're watching this live and you need something to dig into. His show yesterday was hilarious, very good, very entertaining. Had its ups and downs in terms of the stuff he's actually responding to, but QE was on ripe form. Very good indeed. What was that show called, QE?
Can't remember.
I'm surrounded by amateurs. Just have a guess. It's your show. Have a little guess.
Something
just
to do
keep
with
the
that
plug
line?
going.
Can't have a guess at the name of the show. 1 second.
Well, be
QE
here or be
Live.
sphere for you can't have a guess because it doesn't help the flow of this plug for your channel.
Yeah. It's QE Live, The Treatment, Matt Dillahunty, Dilladoofus, and Eric GG, Goober Gibbons. But she had a name change during the show. You'll figure it out.
Am I saying this word wrong? Tunguska.
No, I think it's right. It was hard because I was saying it so many times and it was twisting my tongue because there was too many T's.
Too many T's in Tunguska. There you go. I've messed it up already.
It was the Tunguska Tessie, the titillating tales of a twat.
So yeah, they got off on this red herring fallacy after the guy unfortunately didn't undo sky vacuums by saying it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. QE did it in the response video, but they then carried on this little winding non sequitur road of whether or not we've got meteors. Now, I'm skeptical. This guy was skeptical, and he would have given almost identical answer to what I think I would have given. I don't make a claim about it. I don't have enough information about it. So I don't know. It's the best I can give you, which is what he gave him. The next thing you know, the host's holding him to task. You can't make baseless assertions about what meteors are. If I was sat there, I'd be like, what the hell? I didn't. I said, I don't know. Well, holding me to task on what I've claimed about them. But nevertheless, this co-host lady starts taking him down this line of, we know we've had impacts. We've got the stuff from the impacts. From inside the craters, like at Tunguska. So Kiwi's like, oh yeah, let's have a little look at Wiki. Tunguska's supposed to be an air detonation of a claim to be meteorite, or whatever they've said it is in their terminology, that's flattened a load of crops, but left no crater. Very specifically left no crater. But this is this red herring fallacy for alleged rocks from the sky vacuum, with the opponent not having debunked the sky vacuum, and the pro-force for the meteors coming from sky vacuum saying that Tunguska's given them an impact crater back when we had video in the 1800s. Was it 1800s? Probably a bit later.
It was 1908.
1908. There you go.
And everyone saw it, and there was a film of it from the middle of Siberia in 1908.
Blew out all the windows in this deserted area with no people in it. That's the problem with being a Billy bullshitter, isn't it? I've fell victim to that. It is Dunning-Kruger, and we can all occasionally fall victim to it. You get a limited amount of information, and then you roll with it. And before you know it, you're on a live stream talking about the craters at Tunguska, and how many people have watched it, and how many windows have been blown out. It's like, nah, I think you're confusing A-bomb propaganda videos with a recreation of Tunguska. So no love, but you've extrapolated that into, yeah, you got rocks from a crater that didn't ever exist and wasn't there and isn't documented as being there. Dunning-Kruger.
So therefore, sky vacuum.
Therefore, sky vacuum in her mind. Well, she's not having to respond to that though. The opponent didn't put it. QE only said that in the response. I was moaning in the pre-show saying it was a difficult task for QE because normally we lead with the person we're responding to because we know roughly where we're going to go with it, or they're going to go, more importantly, because we've been doing it so long. In this instance, the guys on the flat earth, if you like, the Christian side of flat earth, is not undoing things that QE needs to lead in with to make his arguments coherent with what he's pressing play on. So it was a hard job that QE had. But fortunately, to counteract that, QE was very funny. So it didn't really matter because he kept making me laugh. So the frustration of what he's responding to was faded into obscurity after he delivered a cracking line based on what they'd said or how stupid it was. It was very funny. It was a good show yesterday. I really enjoyed listening to that, as did my wife.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Flat Earth has turned from, I'd say, maybe a documentary or a debate into just a comedy now.
As we're doing shout-outs for videographers, I tend to find myself watching quite a lot of PJ Cruikshank in the morning. For some reason, he goes live quite early, and I tuned in today's knows who I am, so it made me a mod, and I just happened to say to him, like I did at the beginning of this live show, check out my latest video. You know, Glober's going nuts after measuring Earth flat, and he did a full response to it this morning. So big thank you to you. You didn't have to do that because I'd suggested you just watch the first 90 seconds, which you guys were talking about, that edit. You to utilize it flat. Well, Well, that's all I was intending him to maybe check out, or direct his audience, excuse me, to check out. But instead he did a full reaction video on it. He played the whole lot. Shout out to you, PJ. Hopefully one of my mods will stick a link to your video and you'll get a few subscribers. Not that I'm saying it's like payment in response to you doing that, but, you know, hopefully people going along. I've been enjoying watching you in the morning, so I'm sure others will too. Although I do suspect an undertone of Mandela with you, PJ. We'll get to that some other time. Sorry.
Did you notice Delahanty's tactic he employed many, many times was the proving non-existence and shifting the burden of proof? Idiot.
On the video you did yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did a good job of identifying it every time it happened. You explained my claim that I've not got into. Again, you did it with her. That Tunguska one was actually an example of that. She's demanding that he explains why there's an impact crater. It's like, this incorrect garbage you just spewed is your claim, love. And I'm kind of paraphrasing what you were doing in a very good way in that regard. Like I say, the fact that you've done it and I can now summarize it means that you were dodging these meteorites that were coming thick and fast. Because what's your point in all of this, QE? There is no sky vacuum for meteors to come from, but you're having to still fight within that framework that they're arguing in. Like I say, you did a really good job, I felt. Sorry to keep complimenting you, but it's just, when I'm listening to you do those responses, I think to myself, man, I'd be so screwed here because I'd be letting the video play out, and because I've already dealt with it, what would I say? I've dealt with this 5 more times, whereas somehow you managed to incorporate it into a few laughs and reiterate your point of sky vacuums. Yes, you did say I've dealt with this a couple of times, but what else can you do when you've got literally nothing to get your teeth into? Anyone else watch QE yesterday? Did you all enjoy it? 119 people watching. Hopefully we'll get a... that was the video that Paula's... I've talked about your video today, if you've just joined us, Paula. I was telling my audience how good it was. That map video. It needs a much better title. Because sort of 50% of the way into the video, you're summarising everything we do really, really well. So give it a more catchy title. I can't even remember what the title is, and you're just calling it my map video. But there's more to it than your map. Some of the terms Paula used in that video, she's like, for some flat earthers, they have to explain this with magical portals. And she's saying it in such a way that there's not a hint of derogatory tone in what she's saying, but I can still detect it. You know what I mean? It's still, I'll put it in one of my comments, even if it's not there as a tone. I'm going to make note of it in a comment then. Magical portals. But yeah, there is some crazy flat earth explanations out there that I'd forgotten about, and Paula was highlighting in that video, what she's calling her map video. So there's a few people to go and check out. Hopefully my mods will do this right. You need a link to QE's video, a link to PJ Crookshank's channel. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And my video, Paula's video, QE's video, Crookshank's video. We're doing nothing but sharing videos today. It's 4 of them that we've covered today. Hopefully a few of my mods will be all over it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff for you to check out. There's well over 100 people watching. So at the very least, we're acting as a gateway to a few different other videos. One of them's mine. That's the most important one. Check that one out first. Anything else happen over the weekend?
Level Observer commented on one of your videos, which is good to see, Nathan.
Yeah, I saw his comment. Yeah, like I say, we've both been subscribed to each other for a while, and, you know, I watch his videos, he watches mine, but there's very seldom an opportunity for us to actually sort of interact, which we're not. We're both, at the moment, for the audience's benefit, Level Earth Observer has suddenly come on the receiving end of what I got a year ago from Jaren. Yeah, now, for different reasons for him and Jaren versus me and Jaren, but nevertheless, he's on the receiving end of it. And doing what I did, just standing his ground, defending himself. But very useful for me to sort of piggyback off the back of that and say, here you go, like we said 12 months ago. But now other people are joining in with it because Jaren's got to get defensive against this particular person. But all of the reasons that an idiot might have found legitimate when he did them to me don't apply to Level Earth Observer, but Jaren still applied them, like making money. So it's like, well, that's backfired badly. So like, right, well, I'll use that as my examples then. If I can't say no, yeah, I've got no defence to wanting to earn a living, that makes me a scammer according to Jaren. How am I supposed to defend it by saying, well, I'm not making any money? Well, I can't, obviously. But Level Earth Observer can and did to great effect. So it's like, well, when you do that and we're suddenly united against an enemy that's on our own side, internal civil war in Flat Earth, then, I'll take any ally I can get in that regard, especially when they're just generally a nice bloke. The guy's like an ex-crane operator. He's just a salt-of-the-earth guy. And making videos about what he observes. Next thing you know, he's being called a scammer and a shill by Jaren too. Because presumably he's been pointing out that this whole affirming the consequent fallacy that is the Antarctic trip is a complete joke. But because Jaren's involved with it, next thing you know, the person who's critiquing it, in this case Level Earth Observer, he's a scammer. You're like, no, you're going to be pushed to call someone who's got a completely unmonetized channel that just gives up their time to share their, I don't know, love of debunking NASA or whatever it is that Level Earth Observer's doing in individual videos. Then you're gonna brace against it, and that's what, like I say, I dealt with 12 months ago with Jaren, and Level Earth Observer's doing now. So shout out to you if you're watching, Level Earth Observer. Love your stuff. Anything else? It's nice to get a good summary with loads of people watching. There we go. Divergent Droid put PJ Cruikshank's channel. Check it out. Click the link. Go and subscribe. Check out Paula's video as well. It's slightly above it. Hopefully she does give it a better title. Because like I say, if you want to get a really good, concise summary of what's going on in Flat Earth with the arguments that are currently on the table, how effective they are, and some of the strawman rebuttals we've had over the last 10 years with the maps and models that are being used to do about it, which was the overarching theme, therefore the title from memory. But it does need something more impactful. Yeah, I'd like more people to watch Paula's video, which is probably why she was keen for me to note it when she was talking to me in the chat yesterday. I was kind of talking to myself here at the moment. Sorry. Yeah, good video, Paula. Plug it as much as you like. Change the title. Put something clickbaity on it to get more people watching it.
The Answers to Reality. New title.
Yeah, something like that. Something super catchy. If you happen to be in my audience, right, and when we run the live stream, or now if you choose to do so, go and click on Paula's video, just so you've got a reminder or it's in your recently watched list or whatever. And then give it a watch and just give her some ideas of what you think would be a clickbaity, catchy title to stick on the top of it, just to get more traffic towards it. Obviously, by doing that, I'm directing more traffic towards it, which helps in itself. But yeah, check out Paula's video and see if you can give us some ideas of how to retitle it to get more eyes on it from our own side and the opponents, but more so our own side. It's just such a it was nice for me to hear it coming out of your lips, actually, Paula. All the stuff that we're all saying in unison now, concisely, with the same hymn sheet, in tune. It's like, this is nice. This is a good melody. 113 people watching. Very warm welcome to you all. If you've only just got here, please share the show if you've not done so already. It's just 2 clicks. Click the share
Hello,
button.
Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Nathan. Nathan, I've got 3 comments I want to say. The first one, I enjoy you speaking to Matthew Learns last time. That you cracked me up laughing. I really enjoyed that.
Somebody suggested
Matthew
that I've got
Learns.
him over a barrel to say Earth was measured flat in that last session. Do you recall that? Did he say Earth was measured flat? Or have to concede that Earth was measured flat in some form in the last one? I can't remember.
Yes, he did. Yes.
I'll have to go back and trim that out. Thank you, by the way. Is it T? Or Tay? How do you say it?
Oh, it's T. It's T.
T. Like the
Yeah,
name
can
of
you
my
hear me?
espresso
Can you hear me
machine.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, very. Better mic than Neil.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to say I enjoyed you speaking to Matthew Learns last time. It was you cracked me up laughing. That guy doesn't understand a word what you're saying.
Oh, on the contrary, I think he does. I think he's just very
Like
super.
you question him, and then you find out that he's not making any sense. That and then you start berating him. He cracks me up laughing. That guy. How can he's supposed to be a math teacher, teaching school children, but he doesn't understand what you're talking about.
It's a university, not school children, but I still call them children. But yes.
What's my second one is I noticed that when you talk to the Glurfs and you're responding to them, how come they're not responding to what you're saying?
Because it
Like
undermines
for
their
example,
belief.
you say to them,
Too painful.
sorry, go on.
Too painful.
Oh, that's probably why.
You married?
You say to them, yeah,
Are you
they'll
married?
say to you, there's men in space, and then you tell them they've broken the second law of thermodynamics. Once you say that to them, they don't understand what you're saying, and then they'll start to get angry, and then start calling you names, and it's just silly. Like, it cracks me up.
Are you married?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not married. No.
Got a girlfriend? Relationship?
Not at the moment. No.
Okay, well, you have at some point by that answer. Okay, imagine your last relationship. You're deeply in love for the sake of this discussion. And a guy comes up to you and points out that your wife's been cheating. And he starts laying it out.
Yeah.
And your reaction is to get angry and say, you're a liar. No, she hasn't. And when he starts showing you footage on his phone from his CCTV where his business caught her cheating, you can't even take it in. You can't acknowledge it in that moment. It's someone else. It's someone that looks like my wife. It's not her. She was at home. No, she weren't. She was in front of my CCTV. You can't hear it. So you attack the messenger. You knock the guy's phone out of his hand, tell him he's a scumbag. That's what they're doing. They don't want to believe it.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny. It cracks me up. Nathan, it cracks me up, man. When I conversate with people, when I talk to people, when they say something, I respond to what they're saying. I don't change the subject. I listen to what they're saying, and then I'll respond. I don't get angry or anything. It's important to pay attention to what people are saying to you, and then responding to the words that's coming out their mouth. Like, obviously the Glurfs are not responding, so like I just find it weird. Like communication skills? It's appalling.
Cognitive dissonance and pain. That's what it'll do to you. Let me just do a quick shout out. Shout out to Phoenix Rising 86 says FE Math, that's Charles, is in Leo's comment saying Earth too biggie. In other words, Flat Earth Math is conceding yes, we can measure Earth flat, but it's only because it's so big. Yeah. I remember my mind has been recently jogged Phoenix Rising because he joined our sun tracking to give us elevation angles 10 years ago. He gave us flat Earth measurements. It was his first introduction to me. With his flat Earth elevation angle measurements for the sun tracking. He was measuring a flat Earth all the way back then too. They all were. That's like the only way Earth's ever been measured. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, just ask them. So what you're saying is that we measure Earth flat then, right? And they have to agree.
Or not. The guy on the Discord server on Friday said it quite happily because no one's leading him and he's quite casually and comfortably telling you that, yeah, we'll measure this small local area flat. That's perfectly acceptable. It's only because it's a small local area with respect to your tool. And therefore Earth's a really big ball. That, in his mind, was perfectly cushy. That's it. That's job's a good one. And then I say, okay, yeah, okay, I'll accept that. So and then I slow down, get really close to my mic and go, measure Earth flat then. And suddenly he realises what he's just said and doesn't want to restate it. Because obviously restating it is stating that we measure Earth flat. And in his mind, he knows damn well that beyond that, there's nothing he can do to justify why it would be anything other than the measurement that he's just taken. Locally flat. Sorry, does locally change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about if I'm a giant? Does that change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about us not being giants? Does that change that we're measuring it flat? No. What about if you tell me your reification of a ball that we're not measuring and how it is the ball we're not measuring as a justification for measuring it flat? Does that make it anything other than flat? No. They're just measuring Earth flat and they damn well know it. And when they say it casually, it's all good because they've justified and apologised for why it hasn't been measured ball-shaped. Me pointing out that you not measuring it ball-shaped and telling me how insignificant Earth curve is when you measure Earth is an insignificant Earth curve and a flat Earth measurement. That's all that is. They just don't like it when you point that out to them in those terms, rather than it's okay to be ball-shaped when you're measuring flat, according to them, because that's an apology. It's all good then. We're allowed to measure Earth flat as ball-believing numpties. Why wouldn't we? How else would we measure it? Is what they all cried. And they'll all do it for everyone. All of you. If you understand this argument, you'll have your opponent telling you it's measured flat. I assure you of that. It's my guarantee. And the more that happens... Sorry, just one last point. The more that happens, the more likely this is the gateway to taking everybody off the ball. We need something as flat earthers. If you're an evangelical flat earther looking to convert people, what you need is something, a key, that allows the person you're talking to accept that they already knew before you told them. Now, that's a really difficult ask. You've got to get your opponent to basically concede that they knew before you told them. Now, what does that mean? It means two things. Number one, you'll get no bleeding credit. You're just insignificant as the messenger. Well, rather than being called a charlatan, a fraud, told that you need to be condemned, told that you should never have children and the most stupid person in the earth, and they should walk away with their belief in a ball retained. That's the only alternative, it seems to me. So you've got to have that key that allows your opponent, if you want to call them that, the person standing opposite, to say, I already knew, in this case, Earth is measured flat. Because they do. So that was my task to myself. By the end of this year, and it's happened within 7 months, which is good, quicker than I expected, actually, I wanted to be showing one or two, at least, examples of bull believers fresh in 2024 saying, yeah, Earth's measured flat, of course. But it's only because it's a really big ball, or it's because it's allowed to be locally flat. I wanted those examples fresh and new, and I've got 4 of them already. 5 of them if Charles, I don't know if that's the case, but if Charles has said it. Not Charles. Who's the other guy, the teacher that we were just talking about? Forgotten his name. Anyway.
Matthew Learns.
Matthew
Learns. But what I'm saying is there's already plenty of examples that I can put a nice edited humorous video with me making a pot noodle in the middle of it out to show, look, I was right. I'm not lying to you. By the end of the year, and here we are, 7 months in, 8 months in, with our opponents telling us how flat it is. Now, why did I know that was a safe bet? Because they'd already been doing it for 10 years. We just had our focus on the apology for how ball-shaped it wasn't, rather than how flat it was, when they told us that. Our focus wasn't in the correct place. Since 2024, that probably would have been the case if it had come up at any stage. Happens to be 4 years later, with us beating the same exact drum about how Earth curve measurements are debunked. So what we're left with is all their admissions that Earth was measured flat. Prior to their Earth curve extrapolations being debunked, they could just about get away with that. Not anymore. They don't have any measurements of Earth curve. They've been debunked. All they have is the flat Earth measurements that they used to just about get away with saying, but because it's a big ball, that's all cushy. They can't do that anymore. Just take the measurements, use your opponent's sword against them. Said it would happen, it has. So for every detractor out there going, you can't just say Earth's measured flat. Can I not? Is it okay if my opponents say it? Dickhead flat earthers has said that you shouldn't use this argument. Am I alright if my globe head opponents say it for me? Will that be alright by you, numpty flat earthers that don't seem to realise how bloody excellent this argument is? Am I okay to get my globe heads to say, yeah, we measure Earth flat? Is that all good? Because apparently I'm not allowed to say it's not reasonable to say we measure Earth flat when that's absolutely what we do, so much so that our opponents already know it. I get very few of those. What about you? I'll ask Neil. Very few flat earthers still approach me going, this isn't a very good argument.
Yeah, they're still crying that. They're jealous. They didn't come up with it.
That's fine. I don't care. Jealousy fades quickly when you're in a position where you need to pummel your opponent. Like Jaren with the Black Swan. Yeah? He's got Brenda in front of him and he wants to shut her dumb ass down, so he did it with the Black Swan. Well, jealousy didn't come into it when he wants to shut down some bull-believing numpty. You just use what's best at your disposal. If that knife is in front of you and you need to slit a throat, you pick it up and slit a throat with it. That's what Jaren did with the Black Swan. And when he did, I rubbed my hands together. Now, it's the same for everybody else. If they realise that all you've got to talk about is measuring Earth flat, and your opponent damn well knows it, because I've showed them over the course of a year how our opponents absolutely, without question, I already knew it was the case, measure Earth flat also, they'll start using it and winning. Good. Like always, you don't have to credit anybody. If you win by getting your opponent to say that they measure Earth flat, but only because it's so big, and then you happen to be the person that knows in the back of your mind while they're saying it, I can stand up now and go, so we measure Earth flat then. You take that win. You don't have to credit Flat Earth Debate, me, Quantum Eraser, the Journey of Science, the Black Swan. It's your victory. Just lap it up, man, when they're telling you how flat it is. Re-point it out to them. And when they say, oh, no, you're missing out on how ball-shaped it is when we measure it flat, you're ignoring that. And what, your belief that you haven't justified? Yeah, I will. The measurement bit's definitely a measurement, though, right? Good. Flat. Good. Yeah. Moving on. Earth is flat. You'll measure it that way too, will you, baller? Thanks.
Yeah, and then consequently, we all benefit. So, because normies will see that, and then they'll eventually find their way here. So you do the community a service.
Absolutely. 120 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. As always, a very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Good fun is being had by all. We'll have a couple more minutes chit-chat and then we'll move into the after show, though, I think. Did you like my Donny, whatever he's called, draws video about, well, if science says take a load of pills, great. If science says don't drink bleach, great. If science says Earth's a ball, then hunky-dory, but not for flat earthers, science-denying clowns. Category error, son. Category error. That was the 5th thing to do. 4 videos and Danny, or Donny, draws. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Short though it was. Maybe let him know what science is. Hello. Science deals with cause and effect.
Natural cause and effect relationship.
Yeah, I should say it, but I'm not even going to try and justify it by being implicit.
You say that a lot and you say space a lot instead of the vacuum of space.
Yeah, when you're looking for a cause of an effect, yeah. If you don't state it and someone decides to take advantage and put something that has been made by man through the cause and effect reasoning, would you not immediately say that but for the fact that it has been made by man, we wouldn't have the thing to put through the method? So you already know what's caused that particular instance because it's synthetic and man made it. Yeah, anyway, just because it's not implicit, clearly, otherwise I wouldn't be getting told off. Science is only interested in the physical and natural world. It's the phys in physics. So physics, that's natural science, is only interested in phenomena that occur in the natural world. If you induce it as a man, then it's not open to inquiry through the scientific method. Natural phenomena only. Anything else?
Just say that the 3 videos that you covered last week were a blast. The guy who had the music really loud in his mix, and there was Beardy Weirdy, and then Polosaurus Rex. Yeah, last week was a blast.
I also agreed, but statistically, they've done all 3 of those videos you've just named, and the politics debate have done particularly badly. That is to say, all of them have got under 1,000 views. And I thought, as you just said it, I'm going to say it too, all of last week's shows were excellent. All of them. But they've got particularly low views. And we're at that point where I'm like, we are absolutely on fire. Our argument has never been stronger. We've got more things to plug and punt to our audiences on both sides of the discussion than ever. And obviously, having done it for 10 years, my ability in terms of producing material, editing material, and chucking it out onto the internet has also improved and is at as a higher standard as it could be. So what do you expect would be the result as a YouTuber? Well, obviously, everything's going in the right direction. No, those extremely effective demolishments of the globe Earth rhetoric and proof of flat Earth throughout those 3 videos, 4 actually, if you include the politics debate, although you didn't, are slightly underperforming. Not massively, but just less than the week before. noteworthy. I happen
Well,
to
what
keep
I
an eye
will
on it.
say, Nathan, quickly, is a lot of people I know, there's factory shutdowns, people on holiday, so people enjoying the summer while it lasts.
Fair enough. That may have had an impact. Either way, we'll probably discuss it in the after show, but with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Check out, hopefully I'll get all of these, Paula's, PJ's, QE's, and my video. They've all gone by in the link in the live stream chat. And also let DonnoDraws know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment. Hopefully he'd do the same for me if he was to respond. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on After Show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.